All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We are so excited to be here hosting New Venture Challenges Female Founder Night. We have an incredible group of women here tonight and some very exciting pitches. We are so honored to be hosting this event. To kick off, I'm Liz Patrick, one of your co-MCs tonight. I am a first-year MBA student here at the Leeds School of Business, and joining me is my co-host, Nirali Murthy.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining again. My name is Nirali Murthy, and I'm a senior this year, majoring in psychology and minoring in business. Feel free to tweet us throughout this event using hashtag NVC14. First off on our agenda, Liz is going to talk about the prizes we are awarding tonight, and then we will introduce our fabulous sponsor and our amazing judges.
We have 5 amazing female-founded teams competing tonight for a share of $10,000 in prize money. Everyone will win at least $500, but first place will walk away with $5,000. First off, I want to thank and introduce our amazing organizer for Female Founders Night, Amy Dodenhoff.
Zoom rookie mistake here. Forgot to take myself off mute. Good evening and welcome to NVC 14 Female Founders Night. I'm Amy Dodenhoff and I work at Venture Partners here at CU Boulder. We are so excited that each and every one of you has joined us this evening. When we hosted NVC Finals virtually last year, I don't think any of us imagined we would be doing this via Zoom again this year. And while it's disappointing not to see all of you in person, we are so grateful that this format expands our audience so that friends and family, both near and far, can join us for tonight's event. So welcome to everyone. We are so glad that you could join us. Female Founders Night is such an important part of NVC. It allows us to highlight great startups, interesting technologies and business ideas, and most importantly, some incredible women entrepreneurs. Being a woman in business and in entrepreneurship brings some unique challenges. All too often, we're the only women in the room. We face questions that men are not asked, and we earn the respect that men are often just given. And yet these challenges and obstacles that we overcome and conquer without second thought. But we're not alone. This community is full of amazing women supporting women. We stand on the shoulders of those who have paved our path, and we continue forging forward so future generations can surpass our wildest dreams. Let's continue to lift each other up, empower one another, and achieve all that we can. But for now, let's focus on tonight. I'm so excited for you to hear these amazing teams pitch. And we have an esteemed panel of 4 incredible women that will judge our event. But first, I would like to introduce Sandro Sacerdote. Sandro is an accomplished attorney, and he is here tonight representing our sponsor, Bold Legal. Sandro and Bold Legal are passionate about their sponsorship of NVC's Female Founders Night. Sandro asked to say a few words, and he'll be back to announce our winners later this evening. Sandro, please take it away.
Thanks, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Last year, this time, we were sponsoring in person. I think it was the last event that I went to in person. Anyway, I'm Sandro Sacerdote from Bold Legal. We're a boutique corporate law firm based in Boulder and Denver. We work with entrepreneurs from ideation to exit, and we consider ourselves entrepreneurs who happen to practice law. As the proud dad of an aspiring future female founder, we all know that there's no lack of talent out there among female founders and that it's insufficient opportunities and open doors that are the issue. And yeah, we're grateful to Amy and her great team at NVC for giving us the opportunity to sponsor here. Having seen some of the teams that aren't going to be presenting, we know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we wish everyone success and have a great evening.
All right, Sandro. Are excited to have Bold Legal sponsor this event tonight. Now we're going to introduce our amazing judges, all women who have excelled in their ventures and have encompassed just what it means to be a female entrepreneur. Susan Strong provides early stage companies with advisory and mentoring assistance as director of Sage Boulder. She also serves as entrepreneur in residence at Venture Partners at CU. Additionally, she has an extensive background in business biotech development. She also runs a high-tech consulting firm. Phew, I'm tired just by saying all of this. Susan, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be.
Could you please share with us who is your female role model?
I'd love to, and it ties with what Sandro said. It's Darlene Solomon, who is the Chief Technical Officer of what was Hewlett Packard and is now Agilent Technologies. She's worked there for many, many years. I didn't have many mentors in my career until very late in my career when I was able to work with her, and even had the chance to travel to Brazil to do some grants to companies, different academic researchers in Brazil. And she's both a scientist, a great manager, but also a mom. And so I really appreciate the work-life balance. And she also has always lifted up women around her, both within the company and outside.
All right, great. Thank you, Susan. She sounds like a great role model. Our next judge is Hannah Wanderer from the Zayo Group, one of our sponsors tonight. Hannah is the Executive Vice President at Zayo, where she oversees growth and operations of a $1 billion portfolio. Hannah is a passionate supporter of the entrepreneurial community in the Front Range, and this is Hannah's 5th year participating in NVC events. Hannah, please share with us a fun fact that we wouldn't be able to find on your LinkedIn page.
Absolutely, Liz. Thank you so much. So fun fact is the last time I applied for a job was in 2000. I've had many roles since then, probably about 10 plus, but have been fortunate enough to either define, create, or pitch a job within the companies that I've worked for over the last several years. So that's a fun fact, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. That was a really interesting fun fact and very cool. Our next judge recently started Collective Coaching, where she provides coaching and leadership development to women-led teams. She has deep passion for transforming leaders to achieve step-level results. Before starting her own business just a couple of weeks ago, she was a product manager at Google. Kristen, biggest perk working at Google?
That's a difficult question because there were so many, from the Google bikes to massage, but I'll have to say that it's the free food. I mean, you use that benefit, hopefully not 3 times a day, but sometimes if you're working late. Yeah, the free food was amazing. And we had a lot of great chefs come in and share their creativity. So that was pretty special.
All right, thank you, Kristen. That does sound great. Our 4th judge tonight is Yuriko Morita, and she is the founder and president of Patents Integrated. Yuriko helps companies protect their intellectual property, and she's been helping both large and small companies patent their inventions since 1996. She holds a PhD in electrical engineering, an MBA, and a BA in physics. And Yuriko, what is your favorite pastime outside of work?
Oh, I have to say, I couldn't pick between 2. So one is, some of you know that I also play the cello professionally. So I love playing chamber music with friends. In fact, I studied in the music department while I was getting my PhD at CU Boulder. And the other one is I have 2 kids that are both competitive soccer players. So I make soccer videos. So I love making highlight videos of my kids doing their stuff.
All right, that is great. And that concludes all of our judges. So thank you, you're a fabulous group. And we'll get to know each of them a little bit more during our Judge Spotlight series that will play between each of the pitches.
All right, now we're going to move on to our pitch portion of the night. We're going to have 5 teams showcasing their ventures. Each team has submitted a 5-minute video pitch, after which we will then conduct a live 5-minute question and answer session with our fabulous judges.
Okay, so our first team tonight is Thinking Huts. We will play their pitch video now, and afterwards the founders, Maggie Grout and Miriam Huerta, will join us for the Q&A portion of the night.
Hello, I'm Maggie Grout. I'm the founder of Thinking Huts. I'm a senior at CU Boulder studying business management, and I have over 6 years in nonprofit management experience as well as 3D printing industry knowledge. Next, you'll meet my teammate Miriam.
Hello, my name is Miriam, and I am a current junior studying electrical engineering and computer science at Yale University. I have 12 years of experience with engineering, and I am passionate about using engineering for social impact. I will now hand it over to Maggie to introduce the problem we are trying to solve at Thinking Huts.
We're on a mission to build 3D printed schools and increase access to physical education infrastructure. Because of the pandemic, over 1.5 billion students have been out of school. The problem is that schools will reopen, and the need for education infrastructure still remains. So how are we going to solve this? We will build 3D printed schools in partnership with local communities to solve the need for education infrastructure in developing countries. Traditional schools typically take months or years to build, and due to overcrowding and travel distance, students are unable to attend school. You're probably asking, why 3D printing? It decreases construction time from months to days, reduces our carbon footprint, and limits waste production. This allows us to build more schools in less time. Our first school is planned to be built on a university campus in Madagascar this summer. Perhaps you've already heard about us once or twice. Our designs have been featured in Architectural Digest, Fast Company, and the World Economic Forum. You may be wondering, why Madagascar? We chose Madagascar based upon the need for education infrastructure, the potential for economic growth, and renewable energy potential. A large factor was forming local partnerships that share our mission of encouraging education access and community involvement. Now Miriam will be diving into the technical side of our project.
We are building the world's first 3D printed school this summer in Fianarantsoa, Madagascar. We are partnering with EMIT to construct our pilot project on their university campus, as well as Lafarge Holcim, a local construction manufacturing company that will provide us with the materials needed for the structure. The 3D printer will construct the concrete walls, while the roofing and internal infrastructure will be laid out using traditional construction practices. Our design will also include a vertical garden provided by Sugi. In emerging economies, there are many barriers to education access. Namely, current schools are not suitable learning environments, students have to travel long distances to even get to the nearest schools, and overcrowding is the norm. With our innovative new method of construction, we can build environmentally friendly schools in mere days, which means that we can absolutely scale our projects globally. Furthermore, 3D printed buildings have already proven to be superior to traditional methods of construction. New Story Charity, a nonprofit focused on ending homelessness in Latin America, used the same technology to construct a whole neighborhood of houses in a fraction of the time and cost as is traditional. These savings are also prevalent in our schools, which reduce costs by more than 50%. As a nonprofit, we rely on corporate sponsors, grants, government partnerships, and of course, people like you. We are currently working to raise $350,000 to fund our pilot project, which will cover the one-time purchase of our printer, shipping and delivery expenses, and the materials needed for construction. If you believe in our mission and care about investing in the future, then please scan the QR code to donate to Thinking Huts. Finally, we are currently working on raising funds for the construction of our pilot project this summer. Once this is finished, we will invest our resources into evaluations and assessments, as well as scaling up. For the past 6 years, we have worked tirelessly to reach out to partners and collaborators to ensure that our vision can succeed. Now, our team of professional architects, engineers, lawyers, professors, and even advocates inside government is perfectly positioned to lay the groundwork for a pilot project that will soon turn into a global movement. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. We will now answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you so much, Thinking Hut. Awesome video. We now begin our question and answer session. Susan, you'll have the first question, followed by Kristen, then Hannah, and finally Eureka. Susan, please go ahead and ask your first question.
Thanks, Maggie and Miriam. That's an inspirational program, and I learned a lot about 3D printing, things I wasn't aware were being 3D printed. One of the questions I have is, how do you vet your on-the-ground partners? I know you mentioned that you're dependent on those partners to do the implementation in country. How do you choose them? How do you vet them?
It starts mainly with relationships, so we don't go straight into the partnership. We like to get to know them beforehand. Specifically with our partners, I've known them for over a year now. So we definitely knew they were good people before we started planning for this pilot project.
Great, thank you.
Hey, so question for me is, as you kind of address the needs of future learners, what was the drive to put it in a single kind of a location versus, the information is free today. It's just a matter of connecting. I think we're all connecting from our homes and kind of building off of that and maybe focusing on infrastructure that connects that information to the residents within these communities. Can you kind of tell me, how you landed on focusing on a space versus a distributed learning platform?
I can start off with that, and if I miss anything, let me know, Miriam. So we're focusing on the infrastructure because the areas we're hoping to serve, they do not have that at all to begin with. So to make that jump to online learning, it's more of like a luxury for us here that we're able to do that. So we're really targeting being able to do physical infrastructure, and that's how we're hoping to support education moving forward. And it's still needed after the pandemic as well.
Yeah, exactly that. Plus also, a big issue is that these communities, these students don't have internet at all. So our schools will come with all of this. So we're going to be providing the printer to construct the walls of a building. We'll be partnering with local manufacturing construction workers. And we'll also be, our schools will have solar panels and they'll have node-based internet modules that will provide internet even in remote locations that currently do not have internet. So that's why these schools are key to increase that access to education, because right now, just with the platform, it's not feasible.
Thank you.
All right, I'll jump in with my question. I love that you're taking advantage of new technology and finding interesting ways to apply it. And the argument for 3D printers does seem to be faster, cheaper. And I would challenge the cheaper piece. Have you done any analysis around really comparing over the lifetime of what you expect your company to grow and be, which I hope is huge? Will it in fact be cheaper than using traditional and local resources, just keeping in mind that you are attached to this 3D printer and that actually might produce scaling challenges for you. So have you done any analysis around like traditional versus 3D?
Yes, I can start off with that. So based on other models we have seen, it's mainly been used in housing right now. And so some have been they've gotten down to below $10,000. So that's what we're aiming for to get the price so low. We believe that economies of scale will take into place here. Of course, that is theoretical, but we believe that this is what we're seeing now, especially as it's a high growth industry, especially in construction. So we're forecasting about 20,000 for our schools. And then as we are able to scale up, hopefully we'll be able to get that down even lower.
Okay, we have time for one quick question. So Yuriko, you want to ask?
Yes, quick question. How about in growing your company? So does the single type of 3D printer work for all climates, all materials, or will you be changing things for each climate or location?
Yes, so the great thing is that the 3D printer does work for all different types of locations. The big thing we'll have to work on, and we've already prepared for, is transportation of the 3D printer, because we will be going to a lot of locations that are very remote and oftentimes are just more difficult to transfer or like to transport a large machine. But the machine itself, like, it is still doable, it's feasible. We've figured out partners for freight shipping globally, and that machine can be used in any climate. We just need to partner with, and we will partner with local construction companies that deal with constructing the roofs, the plumbing, electrical, all of that still needs to be done according to the climate. But the 3D printer itself can be used anywhere.
Okay, great. Thank you, Thinking Huts. I know this is so quick, but everything is just great ideas. So we're now going to give the judges some time to take notes. And in the meantime, we will play a short spotlight video highlighting Susan Strong, one of our judges here tonight.
Women in STEM or in any industry are often judged in a different way in terms of, for example, being strong in the workplace is judged in a different way with women than it is in men. So I think striving for excellence in everything you do and finding mentors is really important. Back in my day, there weren't very many women in industry to have as mentors. And we didn't talk about mentors as much then as we do now. I think it's really important to pattern yourself, look at people that are doing something you want to do and try and understand how they got to where they got to, see if you can talk to them about what they think made them successful, and look for people who can help you get to where you want to be is really important. I think mentors today is critically important, and there's so many people who are willing to give back and help. I started out helping with making an instrument. We had mostly engineers working on the instruments. I was a chemist, so I could actually run the samples and make sure the instrument worked. But as I moved up, you had to be able to communicate about that instrument. We had to teach the salespeople why it was such a great instrument and how to talk about it in a way that they could convince customers to buy it. So early on, your communication skills become very, very important. And so I just followed my path there. I ended up helping teach people how to use the instruments, teaching people how to sell them, teaching end customers, giving presentations about the science to customers. And I just love the people aspects of that. And so I advanced through different technologies. But as I advanced, I was asked to hire people. I became a supervisor, I became a manager, became responsible for a budget. So as you go up in your career, your people skills become far more important than your technical skills.
All right, thank you so much, Susan. That was so inspiring. We will now watch Vitro 3D's pitch. Their female founder is Camila Uzcategui, and she and Johnny Herkert will join us afterwards for a Q&A session.
Hello, everyone. My name is Camila Uzcategui. I'm a PhD candidate in material science and engineering, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Vitro 3D, a company revolutionizing cancer research by improving the drug discovery process. 1 in 3 Americans will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, one of these people was my grandmother. After her diagnosis, we were confronted with the reality that her treatment would cost $14,000 per month. Which begs the question, why are cancer therapeutics so expensive? It turns out the answer is because the traditional drug discovery process is incredibly wasteful and inefficient. You can visualize the drug discovery process as a funnel, beginning with the testing of thousands of compounds and eventually narrowing to a handful of potential therapeutics that then advance to clinical trials. The process to get to a single drug, however, takes an average of 15 years and costs $1.2 billion. Now, why is it that the drug discovery process takes up so many resources? The answer is late-stage efficacy failures. Because of the inability to filter non-viable drug candidates at the preclinical stage, over 95% of cancer drugs fail during clinical trials, and pharmaceutical companies waste over $600 million on these failures. This breakdown is taking place at the preclinical stage, and drug price increases are directly related to these R&D costs. And that's where we come in. Instead of injecting cells into a mouse or culturing them on a plate, researchers conceive cells onto a bioactive 3D petri dish that mimics the human tissue environment. Vitro 3D is revolutionizing the drug discovery process by offering the Vitro 3D Cytoso kit. We produce a 96-well plate packed with identical bioactive 3D petri dish that mimic tissue and have a successful self-seeding hydrogel environment. We will sell ready-to-use Cytoso kits to researchers in pharmaceutical R&D, and this kit is intentionally designed to be used with established drug screening assays. Our platform is compatible with human-derived cells, can grow different cell types in a single scaffold, and has realistic 3D structure. At $1,000 per Cytoso kit, we have a minimum profit margin of 75%, and our product costs 10 times less than our closest competitor. It's also 20 times cheaper than a single mouse xenograft, which is a current industry standard. Through interviews with oncology experts, we established breast cancer as the initial market for our platform. This breast cancer drug category is valued at $16.5 billion, and a sizable part of that is the preclinical drug development, which is valued at $4.3 billion. As a conservative estimate, $1 billion is spent specifically in the cell culture research market in breast cancer alone. In analyzing our competition, we realized there's an opportunity for improvement, and we outperform our competitors in all of these different categories. The Cytoso kit has higher reproducibility, higher throughput, and higher resolution than our closest direct competitors. And our 10 times higher resolution gives us vascular scale control over properties in 3D. And this is key because the development of cancer is highly dependent on vascularization. This kit has the potential to lower costs and save drug companies money in both time and material resources. We developed this technology at CU and have 3 patents to protect the process to produce our 3D Petri dishes. We also have an additional patent in progress. Our provisional patent covers microscale control of material properties, and we have 2 issued patents on the high-resolution 3D printer. We're currently developing IP for a specific method of 3D cell culture that will cover the Vitro 3D Cytoso kit itself. And these patents are broad enough to cover the translation to other tissue types for both cancer and non-cancer tissues. To de-risk our technology, we've laid out the following roadmap. With the Lab Venture Challenge funding that we won, we're using it to validate our method in breast tissue. We're also seeking additional funding to build a new printer with higher throughput capabilities, and with that, we will have the Cytoso breast cancer prototype by late 2021. In preparation for launch, we have commitments from biotech and business experts in the form of a SAGE advisory group. And we will launch Vitro 3D and seek seed funding from the NSF, the NIH, and an initial round of fundraising. We will then form a paid pilot partnership to test our technology with a breast cancer therapeutic. We are revolutionizing the drug discovery pipeline. And to meet these milestones, we've assembled a team of experts in biomaterials, tissue engineering, business, and law. Thank you, and we are happy to answer any of your questions.
All right, thank you, Vitro 3D. Cami and Johnny, please join us for the Q&A section. We'll have Kristen start with the first question, and then Hannah, Yuriko, and Susan can follow.
Great stuff, guys. I couldn't help but notice you have a superior product. And you are pricing quite low compared to the competitors. We have to remember price equals quality. Why would you price yourself much lower than your nearest competitor?
Yeah, so that is an excellent question. I think something that really led us to first price at that point was our cost of goods sold, which Johnny can talk a little bit about. So I'm going to pass it over to him because that's where we originally got the price, but I totally agree. And it's something we've been discussing among our team in terms of how to actually price it in a way that's competitive.
Yeah, so full transparency, this is something that's in flux right now, as this has been brought to our attention recently. So to justify kind of our plan going forward, we want to price ourselves at a competitive point with not just pricing with the currently like too expensive solutions that people are looking to move away from, but more compare ourselves to the 2D cell culture that's currently in use. So if people are using Petri dishes and well plates similar to what we're using right now, this would be a premium option over those, which would, even though that's an indirect competitor, we would be charging a premium compared to those. And so we've been rethinking our price a little bit more on the $1,000 per plate price point, which would then put us in line Still significantly cheaper than our direct competitors, but we think that they're charging too much of a premium to be adopted by the current market and the budgets that are being used right now.
Awesome. Yeah, don't want to see you guys give value away there.
So, two questions from me. The first one is where are the plates processed, and is that internal to labs within facilities like hospitals, or is it having to be shipped? And does that mean that there's an overhaul required within the local labs? Question one. And then question two is, with this success, what do you see those kind of failure rates going to, and that 1.6 billion kind of shifting to with the adoption of your solution?
Yeah, so that's a great question. To answer the first one, so these are currently being produced in our lab. So we 3D print directly into the well plates. I think you bring up a good point that in terms of the quality control of it, they do have to be sterile. I have performed surgeries with these structures before, so we have made sure that they're not cytotoxic and they're able to interact with cells well. So we do have quality control there, but as we scale, we will be looking into GMP, so good manufacturing practices producers that do help with the quality control as well. And then to answer your second question, I'm going to pass it over to Johnny.
Yeah, so we estimate based on our preliminary data that we're about 3 times more accurate. So for every one drug that, or every 3 drugs that slips through to clinical trials, that is doomed to fail, we're finding 2 of those that they're going to fail beforehand based on our preliminary data. So the numbers are a little bit tricky because pharmaceutical companies aren't necessarily liking to tell you how much they spend on their failures. But we have done some market analysis, and we estimate between $500 and $600 million dollars gets spent on the failed drugs in clinical trials for every 1 successful drug. So if we take out 2/3 of that, we're looking at saving around $400 million per successful drug. So that's a quarter of the costs that people are putting into a drug on average.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I understand that you are improving, providing a big improvement over the existing 96 well plate that everybody uses in drug development for sure. Are there other people that are looking at other technologies that are looking to speed up the drug discovery pipeline?
Definitely. So I would put them into kind of 3 major categories. The first one is just 3D cell culture in general. You can look at companies and like Matrigel, companies that produce Matrigel. So this is just a gel that comes from an animal source and has all the right components. Then another category would be bioprinters. So if you've seen 3D printed hearts or things like that, there are companies that are also trying to 3D print already with cells. One advantage we have over them.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna have to cut you off. We have arrived at 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Vitro3D. We will now give the judges some time to take some notes. In the meantime, we'll play a short spotlight video highlighting Hannah Wanderer. Thank you.
When you have a good startup and you want to build towards greatness, I think making sure that you have your guiding principles and values in check helps you create your tribe, and that's essential. Absolutely know your why, and state what success looks like. Where are you going? I mean, if you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get there? My involvement in Zayo's growth has absolutely influenced my experience in this startup in a couple ways. In 2005, I was part of a voice over IP startup. We were acquired by Zayo in 2007, just months into Zayo's startup journey. We took Zayo from startup to scale up, and along the way, we grew to a $2 billion business with over 3,500 employees. And along the way, we really did hold on to those values, including remaining entrepreneurial and engaging in our community, as well as empowering our employees, as we had a belief that good ideas and transformative ideas can come from anywhere. And so that was key to really holding on to those principles and values for us. And one of the reasons why I'm here today, we do believe and want to be part of our overall community. For our female founders out there, I would say, hire the people that embrace and evangelize your principles and values. Those are the right people. Stick to your why, but don't just focus on the information that's consistent with your beliefs. It needs to be challenged. And have a plan, but always be willing to pivot from it. Right? I think the greatest plans laid out. Sometimes you got to pivot from them to really get to where you want to go. And automate and create to build to scale. Always think of the idea and what you're after, which means that you do need to look at outsourcing, and you do need to look at it not relying just on you and your small team, but leveraging a greater force to take your idea from an idea to truly a scale up.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Our third pitch tonight is from TubeTech. We will play their video pitch now, and then Katie Kubacki, the CEO and founder, and Rebecca Jacobs will join us for the Q&A section.
Hi, my name is Catherine Kubacki, CEO and co-founder of TubeTech, a company dedicated to providing comprehensive fiber optic intubation training to medical professionals. My team and I are working together to create a portable, affordable, and realistic simulation training device to better train medical professionals, leading to safer airway management practices overall. Fiber optic intubation is an assistive breathing procedure that has become essential for difficult airway management in awake, sedated, and anesthetized patients. It is a procedure that is performed consistently by medical professionals, such as Murphy Anderson. Murphy is a certified nurse and anesthetist at Denver Health Medical Center. Murphy has played a direct role in the training of hundreds of medical professionals throughout his career. Current training models, such as this one, are inaccessible from a cost perspective, costing upwards of $5,000 to $10,000. Instead, Murphy had to develop his own model, using glued together tubing, a step up from how he learned, using taped together toilet paper rolls. This lack of proper equipment puts an unnecessary burden on medical professionals to be innovative and takes them away from their core function of saving lives. Of the 3 million intubation procedures performed in the US each year, 5.8% are classified as difficult. This means that there are over 174,000 intubation procedures that medical professionals are currently unequipped to address using available training methods. That's where TubeTech comes in. Our training device utilizes emerging multi-material 3D printing technology to create a device that both looks and feels like human tissue. Not only is our model more realistic than those currently on the market, but it is also the only one allowing medical professionals to effectively visualize difficult airways. To do so, all of our components are designed to be interchangeable. This means that our device, on its own, can be used to train for a variety of different airways. This allows medical professionals to practice and build confidence with some of the difficulties they may face so that they can ultimately understand and identify them better. Our product not only has the potential to make a difference, but also has the capability to transform medical device training and present a viable business opportunity. The medical simulation market was valued at $1.36 billion in 2017 and is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 16.3% through 2025, with hospitals and academic institutions accounting for more than half of the healthcare simulation market share. Further, there are over 5,000 community hospitals and over 16,000 licensed EMT facilities in the United States. And at a sale price of $1,500 per unit and an assumed 5 units per hospital, we capture a market of over $158 million from our base airway model alone. In order to capture this growing market, TubeTech will implement a B2B go-to-market strategy where hospitals are the customers and medical professionals are the end users. We will monetize this idea through a catalog that can be easily used to purchase training models for intubation. With the medtech market growing in prevalence, several competitors have emerged. Here's why TubeTech comes out on top. First, our model is more anatomically relevant than competing models. Through extensive research, our team has identified materials that have allowed us to replicate the look and feel of human tissue. Second, our model incorporates a black box approach to training, allowing medical professionals to test themselves with identifying features of human anatomy through visualization. Our competitors simply cannot offer a model with the same combination of anatomical relevance, visualization of the respiratory system, interchangeability, and portability that we offer here at TubeTech. We have an incredible team of mechanical engineers, bringing experience from the optical engineering world all the way through mechanical design. We also have an incredible team of mentors, spanning the medical, engineering, and business development spaces, including institutions such as Medtronic and Denver Health Medical Center. In the words of Dr. Blaine Workentine, nobody forgets their first intubation. Are you willing to help change the future of medical training with us? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, TubeTech. Katie and Rebecca, please join us for the question and answer session. Hannah, you can start with the first question, followed by Eureka, Susan, and Kristen.
Awesome. Yeah, so my question is at $1,500 a unit, as you go to hospitals to pay for that, do you have to get in some form of catalog? Does it have to be approved by insurance? And how does that price compare to competitors and what hospitals are using today?
So compared to what hospitals are using, they're in the $5,000 to $10,000 range for one model. So that's how we came up with our pricing. Was a hospital could buy, say, 4 or 5 units for the price of what they're already spending in order to get it in the hands of more medical professionals. In terms of, I think you had a question about if we need to get it approved. Katie
yes,
can,
like with some equipment, right, it gets passed to insurance, and if it doesn't have a code, nobody gets paid for it.
Yeah, Katie can speak to that a little bit more. Katie, if you want to take that.
Yeah, according to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, our product does not classify as a medical device, and so we're not worried about regulations regarding that.
Great, thank you.
So I have kind of like a fundamental market question. So if people are getting by now on like taped toilet paper tubes and those just do-it-yourself kind of training kits, why doesn't a solution exist? Because I'm thinking of it like this is like the Resusciani, like there's the Resusciani for CPR, but this is like Resusciani for intubation. So why doesn't it exist yet?
So solutions, more specifically, the more high dollar models do exist where they could get pretty realistic. However, we're really targeted on the cost and accessibility. So based on customer interviews, specifically at Denver Health, we discovered that actually, even if hospitals do have access to these higher end, more realistic models, they're less inclined to let more medical students use them, more medical professionals, because it's a risk to have to prematurely replace it. Or if something happens to the model, you know, it's more of a cost to the hospital having this larger model being used by more people. So that was actually something we found in our customer interviews.
I think I'm next. I was interested in the customer discovery that you've done, and you highlighted very well the one person, but can you talk about what feedback you've had from people that you've tested this concept with?
Yeah, we've actually recently done some more user testing as well with another iteration of part of our product, but we've interviewed a little bit over 10 CRNAs, which are certified registered nurse anesthetists at Denver Health. And a lot of the user feedback was they would really like a more comprehensive, more realistic training model. What they have available just doesn't feel like it's building confidence. What we're really trying to do is provide peace of mind. And we've also had a couple interviews with doctors from Johns Hopkins and then also Harvard Med that have a lot of experience in intubation and practicing intubation. And they also highlighted the fact that it is a perishable skill and something that does need to be practiced heavily and practiced better too.
I've seen a lot of intubations. Unfortunately, this is a really important product. Thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. So Kristen, you want to go ahead?
Absolutely. So when you guys think about your first deal, I'm wondering about production. Can you scale up and scale back the production of this product quickly and easily?
So in terms of scaling from a cost perspective, if we do scale over even 100 units, we're looking at a cost for making our model going from $140 to $94. So it does decrease the cost. Katie can speak a little bit to the manufacturing side of that because that is affected as well.
Yeah, initially we were thinking about doing something like injection molding for large scale printing, but just with the ability of modern printers as well as our parts, I have one of them here. It takes about 15 hours to produce just one of our models. And so we've decided that even when we're scaling up, we're going to continue using that multi-material 3D printing.
Okay, great. Thank you, TubeTech. We'll give the judges some time to take some notes. In the meantime, we'll play our next short spotlight series. It's starring Yuriko Morita, another one of our judges tonight.
Regarding being a woman in STEM, I think it's okay to be the only female in the room. So I've been in that situation since high school where I was the only female in my AP physics class, or I was one of only 3 females in my BC AP calculus class, that sort of thing. And that's totally okay. And if possible, do find support in each other. You know, I think but then on the other hand, I've had so many mentors over my career that were men, that were supporters, that were men. My high school physics teacher was fantastic. He was always supportive. In fact, I saw him about 10 years ago. He came out to Denver for a conference, and you know, he still remembers me, and he still supports me where I am now. Even through the reason why I got into IP law is because of a male mentor who pulled me aside and said, you know what, you're good at this. You need to learn this. And that's how I got into doing what I'm doing now. So I think it's okay to look for mentorship elsewhere. However, you know, really recognize that if you are just the 1 or 2 women in a room, recognize that and make sure you amplify each other's voices. You will have obstacles. So being a startup founder, just by definition, is really, really hard. So really come back to really have a good understanding of why you're doing it, why you are choosing to do something that's really hard. So coming back to that why of why you're starting this business, why you are the right one to create this product and bring it to market. And I think that's extra important for women, just because I think, you know, really the startup world, just like in engineering, just like in IP law, it's very male dominated, and you will see that. So find your inspiration from really within. So really understanding that why, I think, is so important for women.
All right, thank you so much, Yuriko. That was so inspiring and greatly empowering. Our 4th pitch is from Cambotics. We will play their video pitch now, and Keely Shara will join us for the question and answer session soon.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Shara, and I'm a PhD student working on lab automation at CU. I'm the CEO of Cambotics, and I'm proud to introduce to you a new technology that will increase productivity, safety, and reproducibility of molecular discovery. The pandemic's made it abundantly clear that the world depends on chemistry to solve many of our greatest challenges. Chemistry is integral to developing new pharmaceutical drugs, materials for carbon capture, and even for space exploration. But a major problem is that making new molecules remains very slow. Here's the nuts and bolts of making new molecules. We mix together solid and liquid chemicals, react them together, isolate the chemical products we want, purify them, analyze them, and then repeat the cycle to build up our final target molecule. It's very tedious and manual. Some automation tools exist for individual steps in the sequence, but only some competitors even attempt to accomplish all of these steps, and none can properly complete the cycle. Some of these steps, shown here in red, can actually be dangerous. Chemists frequently have to deal with flammable, explosive, and even carcinogenic chemicals. But these dangers are eliminated with our product. And in addition, Chembotics is offering a solution 16 times faster and dramatically more reproducible than conventional chemical R&D. Unlike our competition, our robot's uniquely capable of automating complex, multi-step reactions. Through various academic and consulting commitments, we have a highly motivated team of engineers building our prototype. I'd like to introduce to you our 200-pound steel and aluminum behemoth coming to life in my living room robotics workshop. I can't show you more than this early prototype because of ongoing provisional patent application. Here's a render of what the final machine will look like. You can see the overhead robotic arm, chemical storage in the back, and chemical reactors in the front. And again, 16 times faster, much safer, much more reproducible R&D. Chembotics will address organic, small molecule, pharmaceutical, and industrial chemical R&D. We're confident we can initially capture up to 3% of this $202 billion market. And in fact, this market is expected to grow by 43% by 2027, by which time we can increase our addressable percentage up to about 6%. To further prove my point, the director of automation at Dow shared with me that they see automation as key to maintaining their competitive advantage. Dow is one of dozens of potential customers we've already interviewed. Our customers like Dow will buy our machine for $500,000 with an industry standard 10%, $50,000 per year service and maintenance contract. This pricing model is competitive in the marketplace and profitability increases as we scale. This $500,000 investment actually provides excellent ROI, breaking even within 2 years. With dramatically increased R&D productivity, customers can expect serious cumulative ROI by 4 years. On our side, we intend to scale to 200 plus units annually. We'll have revenue from both the product sales and service and maintenance contracts. Unlike our competitors, Chembotics offers a solution that easily automates the entire life cycle of organic chemical R&D, from simple to multi-step reactions. We run 24/7, 365, lights out and unattended, enable multiple users to operate the machine simultaneously, and unchain scientists from the bench through fully remote operation. These are the various technical milestones we've already achieved. Of note, the initial chemical dispensing and reactor prototypes are operational, but patent pending. The CU Tech Transfer Office advised us not to show images or details of these innovations for now. In addition, the graphical user interface has already gone through user testing. This is our progress to date, and it helps define our path to market. We'll have commercial units by Q2 of 2023. We're actively seeking funds to finish development from opportunities like this NVC pitch. This is how you can help us. We'll leverage the money you give us today to help us secure further funding. The first $4,000 will pay for critical materials needed to finalize our chemical dispensing system, and additional funding will go towards patent-related legal expenses. All this funding pushes us closer to our full working prototype, which in turn helps us win competitions like the NVC finals. Winning NVC would then put us in a better position to win SBIR and other grants. Again, I'm Kaylee Shara. My business partner at Aditya is an accomplished entrepreneur. X Robotics and the CU Atlas Institute are co-sponsoring development of the underlying technology. This is our engineering team. And finally, our advisory board includes professionals who've trained under a Nobel laureate, been a strategic director at firms like Genentech, and have even had a multi-billion-dollar exit. I know this product's going to be revolutionary. This is the product I wanted since I first entered the lab myself. Join us on our journey to transform how molecules are made. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Chembotics. Great job. Kaylee, please join us for the Q&A section. Just a reminder, we only have 5 minutes. Susan, you can start with the first question, and then Kristen, Hannah, and Yuriko, and I'll help manage the time.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Kaylee. I'm interested in customer discovery. This is a common topic of mine. And I just, as you think about your beachhead customer, I think you mentioned that it would be a pharmaceutical company. What are the characteristics or the experiments that you'd like to identify with that first customer?
There's a couple parts to that answer, Susan. So the first is that our product is best suited to these sort of complex multi-step organic chemical reactions. So small molecule pharmaceutical drugs are the perfect target because those are the most difficult to automate now on the R&D side. And so pharmaceutical companies are the primary market that we will address at the beginning. And then on the customer discovery side, we've spoken with a number of large chemical companies from Eli Lilly to Pfizer. And like I mentioned, Dow, also DuPont, other industrial chemical companies. And it's really clear that the use case and the ROI benefit is strongest and fastest in the pharmaceutical sector.
Great, thank you.
And I had a question that piggybacked on Susan's. So I'm thinking about proof of concept and iterative testing on this type of really complex product that you've got going on. Have you considered, or do you have someone that you can get constant feedback as you kind of continue to innovate and improve here?
Of course. So we have a big unfair advantage there in terms of being at CU, surrounded by a number of these chemistry labs. My advisor has a direct connection to his own advisor who won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2016. And the kind of chemistry, especially in that lab, is that high end of multi-step chemical synthesis. They're the ones that really need this technology most and will see the most benefit immediately from it. But we intend to be doing pilots around the country with beta testing units to really refine the final feature set. But it's really important to emphasize we have already some competitors who've actually proven the market, who've been around for a number of years before everyone got really interested in automation of chemical R&D. And so really, they've already proven the market, and they've even proven much of the feature set. So, you know, I showed on the competition slide really what makes us different, and there are some really key technological differences. But these competitors have already made it clear that the market exists and is willing to bear the price that we're going to charge for it.
So quick question. When you're talking about ROI for the customer, what is the compelling, move for them? Are we talking, have you quantified that as far as what that return is and how many machines you expect them to buy?
Yeah, so again, there's a couple of parts to that. So the machine will run 168 hours a week. A chemist will work not even a fully productive 40 hours a week. So on that basis, you have a 4x improvement. For one person operating the machine, it multiplies, it augments their time by a factor of 4. But then the machine can run many reactions, many experiments at the same time in parallel. So for the salary of a single chemist, and maybe a chemist plus a technician, you're getting the work of a half dozen to even 10 people with this machine. And that's really the key differentiator with automation for R&D, that it multiplies and augments human labor in the lab. And then the other side of this is a lot of pharmaceutical firms, including Pfizer, have outsourced labor to China and other countries, but especially China. And so there's actually a national security angle to that those jobs really need to be repatriated to the United States. And the only way for that to happen is to bring the cost down. So, and it is a compelling price reduction. So there is an ROI, but the ROI is more complex than simply that it saves money. It saves money and it brings jobs back to the United States. That's the full value proposition.
Great. So Kayla, you would be manufacturing these machines in the United States, is what I'm
Yes, of course. We intend to go after government grants that would actually stipulate that that the machine has to be manufactured in the United States.
Cool.
All right, we have about 30 seconds. So Eureka, you want to ask a quick question?
Sure. Because I'm an IP person. So it sounds like you're essentially automating and increasing the efficiency of something that a human can do. So what are the difficulties that you're having to get over in order to make your machine happen?
The two main ones, and again, from a lot of customer discovery and many interviews, especially with chemists who actually do this day in, day out in the lab, purification and solids handling. Those are the two biggest challenges to automate, and we address those specifically. Solids handling is actually one of the most difficult. We also have our much more intuitive user interface, which makes it possible to set reactions up very quickly, which makes it possible to automate as opposed to just do it the old-fashioned way, the manual and tedious way in the lab. But really, it's the solids handling and the purification.
All right, thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all. The end question insertion. Well, just take some notes. We'll play Chris Waters' spotlight video.
So there's a ton of unique strengths to female leaders. And we see that ripple effect throughout communities when women are empowered. So, you know, that's absolutely something that like I wanted to further, right, in my own business, and what I think is uniquely powerful about female leaders. Certainly there are tons of obstacles and hoops that women do have to jump through in business realms. You know, we've all heard these stats, but you know, they're nothing to scoff at. I mean, when you look at venture capital, only around 9% of venture capital goes to female-led businesses. And that's a staggering number that is very upsetting to me personally. As part of why I'm doing this. You know, the impact of COVID has been called the she-cession, right? There's been around 1 million women that have left the workforce in the past year, mainly due to childcare responsibilities, et cetera. So, you know, we're facing some pretty serious obstacles. And then again, those things, you know, frankly, piss me off. And I want to be a part of the solution for that problem. So, you know, all the women out in the audience and all of our pitchers today have got your back. And there's a huge community behind you. Product market fit is huge. You know, when you're in the early stage, just be obsessed with the problem and with the customer. You know, my experience as a product manager has taught me that. You know, never distance yourself from that feedback. Always be in the customer conversations. You know, take support calls, you know, participate in the client pitches, really, really make it your business to continue to iterate on a big problem that you've found. That is absolutely key in the initial stages. And then, you know, cash is king also in the beginning. That's that mantra that founders always hear, but it's true. You know, that cash flow is really important to watch after and to keep an eye on, to diligently manage, because that's often a reason for failure in the beginning. In addition to like solving a problem that is too small or not quite getting that product market fit. So keep an eye on those two things for sure. And then surround yourself with great people. You know, don't forget about coaching, mentorship, your fellow founders. You know, part of what investors are going to be looking at is the quality of the team, the ability to execute. And so surrounding yourself with great people and not lowering that bar in the early stages, that's really important.
All right, thank you, Kristen. That was very inspiring, and I love all the female support. Our fifth and final pitch tonight is from Scout Group. We will play their video pitch now, and then the founder, Ashley Burdett, will join us for the Q&A.
My name is Ashley Burdett, and I would like to introduce you to Scout Group. the recruiting of the future. Scout Recruit is a platform designed to connect high school athletes to recruitment at potential colleges and create a new pathway for college coaches to build their team. I personally went through the recruitment process, and it was extremely brutal and so stressful that I decided not to play sports in college. I then went on to work with athletics in CU. I've worked closely with college coaches and the recruitment process over the past 3 years. Here's the problem at hand. Only around 7% of athletes will go on to play in college. This means they must work harder than their peers and spend more time reaching out to coaches. This year, I got to watch my brother go through that process. I watched him change from the happy, energetic person he was into someone that would sit around waiting for a like, a follow, or a message. I also got to see the other side of this. There are busy coaches working from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. trying to better the players they already have, and on top of this, they're spending their personal and free time trying to find potential recruits for their team. The recruitment process is brutal on the athletes emotionally and the coaches with their time. To solve this issue, we are developing a new social media platform catered towards the recruitment process. The platform will allow for a more personalized experience through the customization of profiles, a messaging process that can be managed easier, and different media feeds. There are 3 main factors that give us the opportunity to improve the recruitment process. First, only some sports have tapped into the online recruiting process, and this has only happened within the past few years. Going along with this, COVID-19 has prevented coaches from going to tournaments, games, and seeing players in person. This has disrupted their entire recruitment process. We have the opportunity to solve this issue by allowing coaches to do all of their recruiting in the palm of their hands. The NCAA has also extended the eligibility of all their current players due to COVID-19. This has created an issue with the amount of new scholarships and offers they can give to potential recruits. Therefore, recruits and athletes are looking for all the attention and help that they can get. We have the opportunity in the next 4 years to capitalize off of this and help these athletes. We aim to target 3 consumer segments. First, our high school athletes. 75% of these athletes said that getting a college coach's attention was extremely difficult. Second, our athletes' parents. The parents said that their number one pain point was knowing what to do to help their child. And third, our college coaches. College coaches said that they receive way too many messages every single day to be able to evaluate all the players reaching out. Our product will help to address all of these issues, but don't take my word for it. CU's head recruiting communications coordinator said that this platform would be extremely beneficial for their program and something they would love to use to improve their efficiency in recruiting. We will have 3 main features that will differentiate us from our top 3 competitors that include Twitter, ScholarMe, and NCSA. First, we will include multiple media feeds. We will have a recruitment feed specialized for recruiting posts and processes, a training feed for all other posts. This will help to keep the focus on the recruitment process and remove outside noise. Second, we will have 5 player cards given to each athlete to send out to coaches every month in order to quickly grab their attention with a 20-second video and quick stats. This will help lower the volume of messages coaches are receiving and quickly grab the coach's attention for the athletes. Lastly, we will be offering filters on the recruitment feed for coaches. These filters can include things such as sport, position, GPA, graduation year, height, and region. These will help to solidify the coach's search, save the coach's time, and allow the athletes more exposure through coaches removing the noise of athletes that may not be a good fit for their school. Now that we have discussed our features, our business model will be a freemium model. Everyone will have access to feeds, messaging, and news. The coaches will not pay for the platform, but they will also have access to filters on the recruitment feed. And then the athletes will be able to upgrade their platform through every month for $19.99 a month in order to receive player cards and see who is viewing their profile and who to target. For our revenue model, we estimate that in year 1, we will have nearly $700,000 in revenue. And by the end of year 5, we will exceed $6.3 million in revenue. Our customer lifetime value is estimated at $104, and our break-even point will be 13,000 platform users. We aim to have a beta website created in July of 2021. This will allow for a testing period from August to November. During this time, we will be gaining and implementing feedback into the final product design so that we can launch in December of 2021. Now for a real life example. This is a women's high school basketball player that goes to a small school and doesn't get much attention. With our app, she'll be able to target schools through her player app or through her player cards that might be fitting for her. And she will get more exposure on the recruitment feed based on filters coaches are using for height, region, and GPA. She received more attention from college coaches, spend less time trying to get their attention, more time training, and have a better opportunity getting an offer due to the exposure she's getting on the platform. Now that we have addressed the issue at hand and how I aim to solve it, I want to thank you for your time. Now is our time to help athletes and coaches take some stress out of a very exciting period in their lives and be able to enjoy the process. Scout Crew is the recruiting of the future.
All right, thank you, Scout Crew. Ashley, please join us for the Q&A section. Susan, you can start with the first question, followed by Kristen, Hannah, and then Eureka.
Great, great, thank you. It's a very timely project that I think could really bring value. The question I have to ask is, what about NCAA regulations that have to do with recruiting and the number of contacts that people can have? Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, so after talking to coaches, and I've worked with a lot of coaches, so I know all of their restrictions and stuff like that. Most of the NCAA restrictions are on how much they can contact the athletes. So this will help, the player cards will aim to help with the amount of contact that they can have with the athletes. And also coaches are limited by the times that they're talking to athletes through like periods in the year, as well as how long they're allowed to talk to athletes, like on the phone, etc. So that should not be an issue with that, with the platform.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the network effect is very important here, right? And so how are you going to convince all the coaches and scouts? How are you going to get their ear and get them on this platform?
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be our main target, is to get those coaches on there. So I have a lot of connections through working with athletics. I've worked really closely with coaches, and I have developed a large network of coaches and knowing them throughout the Pac-12. And so our entering market will definitely be through those coaches and convincing them that this platform will help to save them time and definitely improve their efficiency in recruiting.
Ashley, you mentioned a website. Are you doing website first, or are you doing like mobile app first? And can you talk a little bit more about kind of filters and how you're thinking of maybe leveraging machine learning? Because there's lots of athletics, right? Besides, football, basketball. How are you thinking of supporting those through those filters?
Yes, so originally we will develop a website, because obviously on an application, it will be very difficult for coaches to enter in all of those filters and stuff. And the filters will help when an athlete fills out a profile. They will have to fill out a survey type where they put their position, their sport, their graduation year, GPA, all of that stuff. And then the filters will help to filter that out, sort of as LinkedIn does. And then eventually we will move into the application, because a huge thing for the market currently is that they use Twitter because it is portable and easy to use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I have a son that plays college soccer, and a daughter who is an aspiring soccer player. So I've been through this path. So I would be a target market, of your product. I'm curious though. So your price point of $20 a month, it is way cheaper than anything else that's out there. And there are some serious competitors out there. So how do you plan on converting some of these people that are already using, NCSA and College Committed and some of those services that are already there?
Yes, so when we did our customer discovery, we learned that people are paying upwards of $20,000 for personal recruiting specialists. But there are also people out there, and definitely in low income areas, and athletes that are low income, they can't pay for platforms. And that's a huge reason that Twitter is utilized. So the main point in there is that we want everybody to be able to use our platform. We don't want just people to pay on this and then not get a chance if they can't pay for it. We also want to be able to target those low income, and we want our platform to be all inclusive.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's the end of the Q&A section. Thank you, Scout Crew. The judges have a very tough decision to make tonight. Judges, you should have a separate Zoom link for your deliberation, so you can head there now. And in the meantime, we have a previous winner of NVC, Kim Drennan, joining us. We are very excited to have her and showcase some of her success since NVC. Kim is the co-founder and CEO of Hive Tech Solutions. Welcome, Kim. Thank you again for joining us here tonight. Nirali and I are going to ask him a few questions, but the audience is welcome to ask questions as well. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat and we will moderate and we will try to get to as many of them as we can in the time allotted. So Kim, to start, tell us a little bit about your company, Hive Tech Solutions, and what inspired you to start this company.
Yeah, Liz, thanks so much. And I'm just incredibly thrilled and honored to be here. Hive Tech Solutions started at CU. We are a CU spinout, and our first pitch was actually here at the Female Founders Night. We make smart homes for honeybees that increase their survival rates. So we started out as a sensor-based company. We really wanted to just put sensors in hives and understand what was happening inside there. And then through our pitches and some of our development at NVC, there was a real business opportunity. They're not just use the data there for health observation, but we used it to invent another home that actually improved survival rates.
Wow, that is great. So tell us a little bit about your experience with NVC. How was the competition and how did it impact Hive Tech Solutions?
Oh my gosh, it was tremendous. Like we would not be where we are if it weren't for the New Venture Challenge. I saw a couple of familiar names just in the participants list. That Brad Bernthal, we met with him just as a research team, and he encouraged us to participate. And then to the judges right now, just Susan Strong and Eureka actually have been super pivotal to what we do. Susan Strong introduced us to Innosphere and the SAGE group, so we've been participating in that program. And then Eureka is actually our patent attorney. So I met her, just sat next to her during our first pitch night. And since then, she's gone on to help us out tremendously. And I can't speak highly enough about the team of panelists, of judges that you've got tonight. I haven't gotten the pleasure to work with Hannah or Kristen yet, but they're just phenomenal.
All right, that's great. Really shows the power of networking. So what's your experience been like since winning NVC? Oh, and yep, sorry. And where does Hive Tech Solutions stand today?
Yeah, well, since the New Venture Challenge, we went on to do some more grant writing because our project's very science and tech related. And we applied to SBIR funding. We looked at a lot of the state of Colorado has the OEDIT grants, which are kind of based into the Lab Venture Challenge. So we've been able to bootstrap it until this point right now, and we're kind of at the last 6 months of our phase 2 SBIR funding, and we are now moving into manufacturing. So that's where we are at now. We're moving on to investor relations and building up an investor network to produce these things and get them out to market.
All right, great. So for our female entrepreneurs out there, oh, Nirali, I know Nirali was having some audio issues earlier today, so looks like she's back on. You want to go ahead?
Ask you advice you give to young female entrepreneurs today.
I'm not sure if we got that, Nirali, but I know the next question in the lineup is what advice would you give a young female entrepreneur or someone watching this show tonight?
Yeah, well, it's hard to not just echo what all of our judges said because they're right on point there. Keep your network strong. There's such a rich ecosystem here in Boulder that you almost can't fail if you just continue to reach out and ask people for help or for advice. Find a strong mentor. Susan Strong has been amazing for us and helped guide us because, you do find somebody who's been where you want to go. And Susan has been that for us. Also, the great support at CU. I know there's a ton of folks here from Tech Transfer, Marta Zagatz. So many people in this community have been pivotal to our success. And so that's what I would encourage you to do is any young person, just build your network up, ask questions, go to these events, just listen. I did a lot of listening before I was able to even think about participating and learn to manage your time. Anybody moving into this world of entrepreneurship, like they said, you're going to encounter a lot of obstacles. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be things that you have no idea how to handle. And if you can devote enough time to the business and that as your challenge, reserve some time for the other parts of life that Boulder has to offer, and family, and kind of the stronger networks that we don't always get to talk about.
All right, wow. So we do have our first question from the audience. When did you know it was the right time to file a patent application? How do we pace ourselves when resources are so tight?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, because I really didn't know. I had to ask my mentors, and I reached out to Eureka, and she would give me great advice as to, this is patentable, this is not. Let me know when you get to this level. Perhaps this is a trade secret. Marta, with the licensing director at CU, she also worked with us very closely to say, this is something that probably should be kept as a trade secret. This is something that you could really hold on to and protect and put a little moat around. So I don't know that there's one answer other than reach out to people who have experience with this, that this community is very trustworthy. So reach out to those folks and ask them, ask a lot of questions.
Okay, will do. Is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know now?
Yeah, there are a lot of things I would have done differently. I think that the biggest one is to make the hard decisions faster. There is a lot of just difficulty working with people, working with an idea, and moving the process along more quickly. So I think don't beat yourself up for things that you didn't do well, but do make decisions that benefit the company more quickly than I think sometimes we're comfortable with.
All right, great answer. So the next question we have here, so what's been your biggest learning opportunity at Hive Tech Solutions?
Biggest learning opportunity is every day we get new questions. So I really feel for the finalists here, because all the questions that they're confronted with by the judges today were questions we had to answer to, like, what's your exit strategy? I had no idea what that meant. And I think Eureka was the one that asked me that. So every time you get asked a question, it's an opportunity to develop that part of your business or that part of your strategy even more.
All right, great. So we have a couple more in the chat here. So the first was, what was the biggest assumption you had and that you were wrong about, and when you started?
Yeah, the biggest assumption I had is that honeybees will like to have sensors inside their hive. I know that's a small thing, but it was really about a product design issue. So we decided that we would put Hive's sensors inside there, and the honeybees had a whole other idea. They had a whole different plan than what we did. And so we had a lot of struggles and failures trying to make that work. And we just had to step back and let go of that. And I think entrepreneurship is a lot about holding on to something and then letting something very precious go so that something new could happen. So we had to let go of our first really big idea about putting sensors inside hives. Once we did that, however, we were able to come upon some information and learn about how the environmental factors as a whole were making a larger contribution. So the moment we let go of our fascination with our starting product, we were able to move on to something a lot bigger and better.
All right, great. So I have a question. Who have you looked to as a role model? Is there anyone in your life that's been a big help here as you've gone about this?
Well, there's been several, but I think most of them are the people here tonight. I look to a lot of our internal Boulder community, a lot of the women who have struggled through being the only woman in the room, and then finding space, and then making a presence among a community. So I think you can probably scroll through all of the names here, and there's something valuable that you'll get from any person in this community. So I would say that it's this entrepreneurial spirit and mindset that we've created here in Boulder.
All right, great. And I do see another question that came through the chat. How many times did you pivot and why?
We don't have enough time to talk about how many times we pivoted, but we had probably 3 major pivots, and it was all through big failures. Things that we assumed too much about and had to reevaluate. The first would be that sensor thing, that we could put sensors inside hives, and that that data alone would be very valuable. Well, it was only valuable to a point until we were able to learn what the problem was. And so we had to learn a lot from the honeybees about their environmental conditions. The next big failure was when we targeted the wrong market for one of our prototypes. We designed something that we thought would be really good. So we didn't have enough customer interviews with one of our products. And we took it to them, this great prototype, and they really were like, well, that's nice, but it's really not going to help us out very much. So we pivoted again at that point to really investigate the market and talk to our customers. And we discovered a niche within a larger market that we could really fill. And that's really where we're positioned right now.
All right, great. So there was another question. Would you recommend participating in any of the accelerators that CU offers? And did Hive Tech do any of them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would definitely recommend it. So we did Catalyze CU just after New Venture Challenge. And then the next one that we did, or we're doing now, is with Innosphere. It's a great science and technology incubator. And both of those do not take equity in your company. So we did the ones that were a little bit more slower paced, more of the incubator style, rather than sort of the technology-based accelerators where there's some real pressure on the speed of development. Our product is very seasonal, so we couldn't rush it. We have seasons of the year that we have to accommodate for with honeybee cycles. So we fit better into a different model, not necessarily the tech stars, although those are wonderful for tech-based companies.
All right, great. And then in terms of funding, how have you been going about getting it? And I know you have to be creative in who you approach. So any advice you can give to our entrepreneurs here?
Yeah, so we've been trying to go as long as we can. We've made it about 4 to 5 years now, just bootstrapping it with grant funding. And we're now at a point where we have to scale and we have to really get some large dollars in the door. And I would, again, go to your mentors and go to your community here. There's everything you need, I think, is here in Boulder. And if not, it will be a connection to something else. So my advice is talk to Susan, talk to Eureka, talk to Hannah, talk to Kristen, ask them for what a good fit would be, because there's a tremendous opportunity here in Boulder.
All right. So there was one more question, and it relates to how you built your team. How did you handle bringing people on? How did you know they were the right fit for the company? Any hiccups that you had to deal with?
Oh, absolutely. And just to put it out there for sure, this would not have started without a 3 co-founder team. So the first person that I met was Chelsea Cook, Dr. Chelsea Cook, and those were her hives that I stumbled upon on East Campus. So the whole reason this started is I found her hives in East Campus, and I looked at them and I thought this could be a lot better. They were these like broken up boxes with rocks on top, and just looking at the housing situation, I thought we can do better than that. So I reached out to Chelsea, and she is the first co-founder. And I was working at the time with, I'm faculty in the program in environmental design. And the next co-founder was Justin Bellucci. He was a specialist in building technology monitoring. So we wanted to monitor these hives. So we got together over martinis, and that was the founding group. The 3 of us pitched on Female Founder Night. Since then, it's remained Chelsea and myself, and then we're bringing on more leadership teams right now, team members right now. But it is a challenge. We've been working together for several years, and you just have to be able to have those hard conversations and to have enough trust in your team that you can be authentic and transparent and talk it out.
All right, great advice. We have one more question. What is the next thing you are trying to prove or de-risk in your overall business model?
Yeah, the next de-risking is going to be our sales and our kind of target sales production numbers. So the thing that we're looking at right now that's a challenge is to figure out how we can scale and produce here in Colorado with the technology that we've got. So we're looking at facilities, we're looking at funding, and we're trying to line up all of our production costs so that we can go into an investor meeting with a lot of clarity.
All right, great. I know the judges are still deliberating, so bear with us this moment. We got it. It's a tough decision, so we'll give them the time. But we did get a question. This one's pretty funny. They're curious how many times you've been stung by a bee, and are
So
you
many times.
used to it at this point?
I don't think you ever really get used to it. The last time I got tremendously stung is in Washington State over this past winter. We were loading bees in the hive, and I had duct tape over my mask, my little thin veil, and it had come off because of all the moisture. And they all started crawling in, and yeah, I probably had 6 bites on my neck this last winter.
That's brutal. Well, I don't know if someone who's allergic to bees could go into this, but so the other question we had, how do bees stay warm in the winter and cold in the summer?
I love that. It's called thermoregulation. So this superorganism is fascinating. In the wintertime, they cluster up. When it drops below 50 degrees, they will stay in a cluster. And it's like penguins in Antarctica. They kind of circulate around each other in this little bee ball, and they flex their wings and create heat. So that keeps the hive warm in the winter when it's below 50 degrees. In the summertime, they can actually detach their flight muscles, and they do a fanning behavior. So they, as a superorganism, have coordinated fanning, where they will fan their wings and then cycle air and cooling through the hive, and a little bit of water from the sort of water they collect outside.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, we could talk about bees all night.
I've learned a lot already. So let's see, there's a few more coming in. A lot about bees, but how far do bees have to travel each year? And the next one, which I think is a great question as well, is since there's 90 people on this event right now, what can we do as a community to help you?
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll talk about the bee traveling really quickly first. Depends on the bees. So there are actually summer bees and there are winter bees. Summer bees in the springtime, like just recently, they went all out to pollination. So if you're a commercial bee, you could travel as far as 9,000 miles during your lifetime, going from crop to crop to crop across our great United States. Our agriculture system is set up such that monocropping kind of prohibits the diversification of lots of different flowering plants like it used to be. So bees can't exist in our agriculture system anymore in one place. So they migrate. They are loaded onto trucks and they migrate into different crops as they bloom. So if you're a bee, you could travel from Washington State back to Florida and Texas. Yeah, queen bees are fascinating as well. And it is a female colony, right? That's the other thing I should probably bring up, is that 95% of honeybee colony is female. And what could you all do to help me? You're doing it. Just keep doing your good work, continuing the excellence that I see in these pitches. I'm just blown away at how much better these pitches are than what we pitched a few years ago. And I'd also like to volunteer. I see that some folks like Kaylee, you're going to be applying to an SBIR. I'm happy to review the grants. If anybody wants to go the sort of government grant route, let me know. I'd be happy to help with that.
All right, hopefully Kaylee will take you up on that. Okay, I think judges still need a few more minutes. So when did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Is this something that you always wanted to do, or did something happen?
No,
happen with bees that motivated
I'm very
you
much
to do this?
an accidental entrepreneur, and I'm curious about what an entrepreneur really is, and I look for that meaning almost every day. But it really was the why question when Kristen and Eureka were talking about why are you doing what you're doing. It was really because I felt a very deep connection to nature and to sustainability and to our food system and sort of cohabitors of our planet. And that drove me to really creating a better environment for them, whether that's through an environmental design education or if it's through entrepreneurship. This was the vehicle, I think, that was most comfortable for me to make a difference. It seemed necessary, I guess.
Wow, very inspiring. So looking to the future, what would you want Hive Tech to look like, or what's the goal for you?
The goal for me is to watch the number of honeybees in our country increase, and for them to have a less stressful lifestyle. I'd love to see a time in our country when they don't have to get on trucks anymore. I'd love to see an agricultural system that was self-sustaining and didn't require so much transportation and inputs. I would love to see that. And
Great.
Hive Tech's a part of that. So I guess that's the bigger picture that I'm looking for.
All right, great. Looks like we had one more question come through. I know the judges are just finalizing, so maybe one or two more questions we have time for, but what's been the most expensive learning opportunity in the company, or hiccup, I'd say?
The most expensive one was the big failure on not designing the right prototype for the right customer. It was a big investment in time and in money, and we drove we drove a big trailer all the way down to Texas with all of our equipment. It was pretty monumental. It was a year's worth of effort, and it got down there and it couldn't handle the situation. The equipment failed. The customer wasn't really happy, or at least our partner wasn't really happy with it. We didn't achieve our objectives, so we had to go back to the drawing board and start over. And this past year was a lot of redesign, retrofitting to get it right. And luckily, this last winter, we finally got it right.
That's great. So any parting words or final advice you want to give our teams or entrepreneurs or anyone who's needing a little motivation to get started with their idea?
Oh, just go after it. Just get out there and try it. Embrace ambiguity and uncertainty. And it's not a very comfortable place to be all the time, but it's a lot less scary once you just start and get after it.
Okay, that's great. And I'm sorry for this. I'm getting live updates from the judges right now. So there's a runoff going on right now. So we're still not there, but I really appreciate you, Kim, for coming on here and talking about everything you're doing. It's so inspiring. You're saving all the bees, and it's great to see someone from NVC go on to have a success and still continue with their idea. So we do really appreciate that. I don't think we have any update from the judges right now, so bear with me. I appreciate you all hanging in there since we are doing this live, and I know everyone wants to find out the final decision. But any other questions that people have?
Hey, Kimberly, sorry. How has it been transferring to, like, you're thinking about scale manufacturing? That's such a different thing. Is there anything you can share about that?
Yeah, it's a whole other world. And it's something that I have no expertise in, right? So we just brought on a director of manufacturing who came from the Sage Group. So again, talk to Susan. It's one of those mentor pieces that I just can't emphasize enough. We're learning a lot. So we're looking at scaling and creating an advanced technology system here in Colorado that would be able to produce well, our product, without getting too far into the weeds, it's a panel system. It's got sensor technology and a lot of mechanical systems embedded in it. So to be able to scale that economically, we're looking at producing some more advanced panel systems here in Colorado, and then understanding what it's going to take to assemble, create relationships with strategic partners, with, say, larger companies who have component parts, and then the numbers behind it, all of the kind of millions of dollars that's kind of shocking right now, to look at what it's going to take to get this off the ground and running. So I think participating in Innosphere has also been really wonderful. We have a great client manager named Joey Money, and how could we fail with a manager like Joey Money for a team member? But anyway, somebody who's done it before and can give us advice as to kind of what what investors will be looking for, what kinds of equipment and numbers we need to have in place for additional funds that governments, perhaps state of Colorado, or even going back to the USDA, we've got a good partnership with them to consolidate and see if we can gang up on our scale.
All right, great. I do know that we have the judges coming back right now. So in 30 seconds, what is your pitch that you give when someone asks about Hive Tech?
We make smart homes for honeybee health. That's like a 5-second pitch, but I hope that encapsulates it.
All right, great. Well, thank you again for joining us. We will now turn it over to the judges who are back from deliberation. I know it's the moment everyone's been waiting for, and thank you again for everyone donating their time, especially the judges. I know this is not an easy job. So Amy, do you want to say a few words before we announce the decision?
I do. Thanks so much, Kim, Liz, and Arali for that. My husband's here. He was watching you guys in the main room. You did great. Can't wait to watch it on the recording. So thank you so much. So, man, that was some tough deliberations, some great pitches tonight. So first, let me give a few last words before we announce our final order. First off, let's give a huge virtual round of applause to Liz and Nirali for doing a great job emceeing tonight, especially with Nirali having some tech issues there in the end. Great job, guys. Really proud of you too. Lexi Block, who was our other student helper, put together all of our Judge Spotlight series, interviewed the judges, put those together. They came out great, Lexi. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Special thank you to Colin Bunch for running our Zoom, and to our fearless NVC organizers, Chris, Mal, Brad, and the rest of the team. The other prize night leaders, Eric and Karen, we all came together and worked really hard on getting all 3 nights together. Marta Zagagic for your insight, help, advice, being my sounding board nonstop. Thank you so much. And our audience, thank you for joining us, supporting our teams and our event tonight. Finally, thanks to all of our sponsors, including Bold Legal. I'm going to invite Sandro back to announce the winners. I was obviously there in the deliberation room. Sandro was there too. We can both attest to this. The deliberations were tough. It was hard from top to bottom to sort the teams. So great job to all the teams. And Sandro, you have the floor.
All right, thanks, Amy. From all of us at Bold Legal to everyone, congratulations on a great event and great presentations. And as Kristen said earlier, cash is king, so I get this fun job. You guys all did the tough stuff. But so with a $500 prize, Scout Crute, and a $500 prize, Tube Tech, $1,000 prize, Thinking Huts, $3,000 prize, Vitro 3D, and the big $5,000 prize goes to Chembotics. Congrats, everybody.
All right, well, thank you for everyone staying on till the end. I know we had to wait for a while for the judges to make a decision, but it was a tough one. We really appreciate everyone signing on for this. I'm sure we will be in touch with the team shortly on how to claim their funding, but any final words, Amy, before we sign off?
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you, judges. Thanks, Sandro. Thanks, Kim. Thanks to all the teams.
Yes, congratulations and enjoy the funding. And we'll see everyone for the main NVC event, which is April 13th. It's the big competition. So please sign on for that to see all the competing teams. Thank you.